What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Coronavirus Boredom Sports. This is Ethan, here with JD. We're going to be talking a lot of MLB today, but some other stuff at the end, too, so stay tuned for that. We started off talking about Tommy John a little bit. I know we touched on this earlier, but in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, Dr. Andrews, probably the premier Tommy John surgeon, shutting it down. So, JD, what are your thoughts on Tommy John during coronavirus, and is it ethical? How do you feel about that whole thing?
I mean, the guy's got to take care of himself too. And sure, it'd be different if that doctor is dealing with corona patients and he can't do the surgery. But I don't think it's not ethical. I mean, what's the problem? I mean, because sure, but Dr. Andrews he's not dealing with corona patients. So for him to do the other surgery, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right. I mean, it's like if you broke your wrist right now, are they not going to give you surgery because corona patients? I mean, we still have to have our health care, which is
Yeah,
why, even you probably saw on the news that they brought that ship to New York for people who don't have corona, so it's a hospital, just a
yep,
regular hospital. So
because we still need
I
it.
don't. Yeah, we still need you can't just shut down the hospital for anyone that doesn't have corona.
Yeah, and especially you're talking about pitchers, right? These are guys who America needs sports. Drew Brees coming out and saying America needs sports. Everybody's saying that. We'll touch on the MLB's plan to get back in action soon, but right now, man, to have to sit out months before getting started on a 12 to 14 month rehab process, I mean, that's career ending, maybe even. Tommy John is so tough already, but now to add on to that process, a weight here that seems pretty unnecessary. Like you said, it's not like Dr. Andrews and these guys are going to be treating corona patients, and it's literally pretty much a doctor and very little staff involved in that. So the odds of transmitting it are very low. And we need these guys. It's not like, your typical American can get hurt by an injury like that, but we need these guys even more than we need your typical American, not because they're higher or anything like that, but because America relies on sports and we need that stuff. And so to me, I think it's stupid. I think we absolutely need guys to get Tommy John still.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I just think it's kind of a no-brainer. Some might disagree, but again, I go back to the fact that we still need our own hospitals for people who have need surgeries or whatever happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anyway, moving on to some more MLB news. This week, we learned of the passing of Kaline, Mr. Tiger. He was 85 years old. Uh, just, I guess, honor his life right now, his legacy. What are your thoughts on Kaline, his career, his life?
Well, he had a long career. He played for the Detroit Tigers, as we all know, and I mean it's sad when you lose a baseball player. Anyone. I mean, sure he's not no Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. He's not big, but if you were a Detroit Tiger fan, which some people might be, I don't know who you are. This might be crazy, but um, you always will remember the great. He's Mr. Tiger. That's what he's known for. When you think of the Detroit Tigers, his name pops in. I mean, sure you got Miguel Cabrera, who's modern era, but anyone who's seen in the past, let's see, when did he played in the '80s, right? And '80s.
And earlier, won the world championship back in '68.
Was it '68? All right, yeah. When did he retired in '70? When did he retired?
In the '70s, yeah.
'70s. Well, I mean, that's still not that far along. So we should remember him and commemorate his great success as a Detroit Tiger.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, Kaline as a player is so underrated. A guy who played 22 years, hit nearly 300 for a career, and he himself said, as good of a hitter as I always took pride in being a better outfielder. He was a great two-way player, anchored some of those great Tiger teams, and to me, though, as good of a player as he was even better as a person. And well, as a player, he deserves to be up there with the likes of some of the guys whose names probably come out more than him. Just what an amazing guy and what a great influence he had on that city. A city that's not maybe as mainstream of a sports city as Chicago or New York, something like that. but just an absolutely amazing guy, absolutely amazing player, deserved Hall of Famer, and it's just really sad to lose him.
And he played right field, which takes major respect. He's an
Yep.
outfielder, fellow outfielder.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess we'll move on to more news in the MLB and talking about their plan to possibly get baseball back in action as soon as May. Uh, this would entail basically an isolated league, playing in empty stadiums, including Chase Field in the greater Phoenix area. There's been a ton of backlash for this, but JD, kind of what are your thoughts on MLB's isolation plan to get back in action?
You know, I really think that I want sports. Everyone wants sports. Players want to play sports. President Trump wants sports. Everyone wants sports. I think it's a pretty good idea. I mean, if it doesn't risk the lives of people, which I think this Corona thing's on its way down, I think it's a great idea. I mean, you even see Dana White, which we'll talk about later, his private island deal. You got to do what you got to do to get sports, and I think if the MLB can play safe in Arizona and get the season started, I think it's a great idea, especially if Corona's on its downward trend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's quite downward yet. Hopefully, we'll get to being able to control it, but it doesn't really matter, right? If we're able to isolate this league, we should be fine. But there's two problems with it. And the one is that players having to leave their families like this for a prolonged period of time. And the second is, are guys going to be disciplined enough to do this? And to both of those questions, I guess, I have one response, and that's we need sports, right? We absolutely need it right now. And these guys, it's tough, right? The life of a big league player is already tough. But you have the opportunity by going and doing this and putting on a show, leaving your family for a bit, doing what you have to do. You have the opportunity to be a hero, to be an uncommon hero in today's society, because we need that right now. Whether it's Mike Trout or that back of the rotation 25th, 26th man bullpen pitcher, I don't care. You're a hero for doing this. And we absolutely need that because, yeah, it's tough to go and do that and leave your family for weeks like that. But America needs this, man. And for every single big league player, everybody involved with it, you have a great opportunity right now, and you are needed. So you have to find a way to go and do this, give this a shot, and stay out of contact with people, because this is a time when it's not what somebody wants. It's something that is being called upon. It's right now it's needed. I mean, sports have, and baseball in particular, it's gotten us through our toughest times. It's gotten us through World War II. It's gotten us through 9/11. We need it right now. There should be no difference right now. We need to find a way to play Major League Baseball.
And going back to what you said, going through tough times, you look at, I was on watching ESPN2 the other day, and they were showing Drew Brees' Saints against Michael Vick's Falcons right after Hurricane Katrina. And the Saints, it was their first home game in over a year. Drew Brees' first home game as a Saint. And and they just went out and they beat up Michael Vick. And the Falcons those past 2 weeks, they played the Buccaneers and the Panthers, and they looked like the best team ever to step on the planet. They rushed 380 something yards against the Panthers. So sports unites us, and that's why we need sports. Sports is so important, and that's why even doing this show, we just love sports so much. That's why we want to do the show. Sports unites people, and it's a great thing to have.
In a way, it's part of the healing process for us, even doing something like this. And you think about the way that it's just a part of the healing process, the way that it healed that city, the way that it brought everybody together. I mean, the atmosphere in that dome was unbelievable. I mean, we're talking about a regular season game that easily meant more than pretty much any postseason game. I mean, that was unbelievable what that meant to that city and those people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. Well, you ready to move on from that? Is you got anything else to say, or are you good?
Yeah, I'm good to go, man. What do we got?
Well, let's look at the best player by position in the MLB. Let's start off with a catcher. Who do you got as the best catcher in the Major League?
Well, I would have to go with JT Realmuto because he is so far ahead of every other catcher in the league in terms of his offensive output, where he's not even like a catcher anymore. It's such a demanding position to play. I know that from experience, but he also delivers offensively on such a high level. And to be doing that while playing that position in the big leagues is incredible to begin with. But now he's taken it from being an athletic backstop to also being a really good pitch receiver, a really good blocker. He's become really good at the technical aspects. He really is the complete package. To me, he's hands down the best catcher in the league right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you being a catcher, I trust your expertise more. Um, I mean, I catch a few times maybe here and there, but you're going to go into college to play catcher, so I can't dispute what you say because you're the catcher here. I'll go ahead and agree with you. I think that's true. He's a good backstop. He's a brick wall back there. But
Yep.
who do you got at pitcher?
Pitching wise, I think I'm going to go against a few people here, but I got to go with Jacob deGrom because I know he's not getting wins like everybody else. To me, it's a two-horse race, really. It's between him and Garrett Cole. But
Mm.
I think deGrom is the better pitcher with the better stuff just because he's not getting wins, which are not a pitcher's responsibility at all. They're just luck, essentially. He's giving his team the best darn chance to win every single day he goes out there. To me, he's got to be the best pitcher.
And I'm gonna have to disagree. I think Garrett Cole is the best pitcher in the league right now, and he's proven that. I think you also got to look at Max Scherzer. He's not bad,
Yeah.
but I think Garrett Cole is the best pitcher right now, and he's
Yeah.
proven it too. So
Yeah, either one of those guys is fair. I think deGrom's got a little edge on him, but they're both really talented.
yeah, for sure. Next, let's look at the infield, first base.
Now, first base is a tough position, man, because there's a lot of good first basemen in our game, a lot of guys who are really good hitters who play the position. But to me, you got to look at a guy who's been super consistent uh, and who's been a really good defender. And I'm not talking Anthony Rizzo, as good as he is. I got to go with Freddie Freeman as the number one in the game because he's such a consistent, high floor hitter. He just comes to play every single year. Puts the ball in play, hits line drives, hits home runs. He's a complete package at the plate, works the count, and now he's become a pretty darn good defender of late. So I have to go with Freddie Freeman right now.
I mean, Freddie Freeman's a great first baseman. Don't get me wrong, but if you're gonna look at defensive wise, I think Anthony Rizzo is one of the best defensive um, first basemen. But I don't think he's the best first baseman. I think it's just defensive wise,
Yeah,
offensive
and
wise.
Freddie's still in his ballpark defensively, where
Well, yeah,
I think
Freddie's a
he's
great
gotten
defender
Gold
also. Yeah,
Glove nominees and stuff. He's in the ballpark of Rizzo.
yeah. Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Freddie Freeman's a great first baseman. But then if you look at offensive, you got guys like Goldschmidt. Even he's not horrible. He's doing decent. I mean, there's a lot of first basemen that have that potential.
Yeah, even Matt
I,
Olson, up and comer.
yeah, that's true. But I don't even Pete Alonso. I mean,
Yep.
the dude's he's a solid, but I don't think there's one defined first baseman that stands so clear of the rest. So you got Freddie Freeman. He's probably he's elite. He's top three, no doubt. But I don't think I can really give it to one specific guy playing first base. For me, it's a mix between Freeman, maybe Rizzo, borderline. Goldschmidt, I think he's getting older. I think he's had his time. Alonso could be in there. So to me, it's not one defined person, but a mix of guys.
Yep. Yeah, that's a tough position to call. Anyway, moving on to a position that's a little less tough to call. What about second base? Who do you got as your best? I mean, it's still tough to call. It's just they're not,
Yeah.
you know, quite as many megastars at that position. So who you got?
Well, right now, before I say my who I think is the best second baseman, I want to give a shout out to Wong from the Cardinals. I think that guy's a stud. He's underrated. He's not the
Yep.
best second baseman, but I still think he's a stud, even though I'm a Cubs fan. I still
Yeah,
think he's really good.
he's a grinder, man. I got a
Yeah.
ton of respect for him. A guy who's carved himself out a nice little niche in this league. Been around a while.
But I think the obvious choice for second baseman is Jose Altuve. I think just he's the best, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I know obviously whenever you say an Astro, there's going to be some shrugs, some confused expressions, but to me, they haven't cheated all the time. I still think that he's a really talented hitter, and at that position, which is kind of a light position, because most of the superstar middle infielders tend to play shortstop, I would have to give him the nod at second base.
Yeah. And then moving on to shortstop, who do you got there?
Yeah. Shortstop again is pretty contested. There's no one megastar. You got Trevor Story, who's really good. You got Frankie Lindor. You got a bunch of guys up there, young shortstops who are really talented. Even Corey Seager, though he's dealt with the injuries. If I had to pick one who's the best, I would have to go with Francisco Lindor. I think that he's a really good defender, uh, very solid hitter. He's not, necessarily gold tier top hitter at this point, but he's still pretty darn good. To me, he's got to get that number one nod at that position.
Well, to me, I'm gonna list a bunch of guys right now. This is how good the shortstop position is in the MLB. Trevor Story, Francisco Lindor, Javi Baez, Marcus Semien, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis, Gleyber Torres, Jorge Polanco, Carlos Correa, and Paul DeJong. That's stacked right there. Any
Yep.
one of those guys deserves a starting spot. But as you said, it's not one defined guy. Trevor Story, I think he's a great shortstop. I, I mean, I don't think Lindor's won. Baez has his struggles last year, showed him his downward side. Right now, I'm just gonna have to give it to Trevor Story, even though
Yeah.
he's not defined. But I think Story's probably the. I mean, I think this year my prediction is Baez will separate himself if the Cubs can win. But right now, I think Trevor Story is the best shortstop.
Yeah, to me, Javi has such a high ceiling, but he doesn't have the consistency of guys like Lindor or Story. So to me, it's between those two, and it's really close to call between them.
Yeah,
Moving on to third base, then who do you got there?
this is a tough one again. You got Arenado, you got Rendon, you got Bregman. I think those are the three guys. You still got Chapman and different guys like that, but I think Bregman is the best third baseman in the game, but Rendon in the Nationals won it last year, and he showed that he is elite. And don't forget about Arenado, but I think Arenado's third in my opinion. But I want to give it to Rendon, the defending champ on the Angels with Mike Trout.
Yeah, that's such a tough position to call because all three of those guys are elite players. They're all great hitters and they're all great defenders. To me, I would have to give a slight edge to Nolan Arenado, and I get that gets a bit of a boost from playing in a hitter's park. If he gets traded, as all the rumors are saying, we may well see how he does not in a hitter's park. But that said, he comes and rakes on the road. He brings the bat. Have bat will travel. He will rake wherever. So I think he gets a boost to his numbers from playing at Coors, but he's the best defensive third baseman, maybe even the best defensive player in baseball, even though those other two guys are good defenders as well. And to me, he gets a slight edge in the hitting department over Rendon and Bregman. So I'd have to go with Arenado, but that is very tough to call.
And then, I mean, we could look at the outfield as a whole, if that's fine with you, because some guys play right,
Yep.
left,
Yeah.
center,
Sounds good.
whatever. So let's maybe do 5 outfielders. Is that fine with you? Because
All right.
outfield is,
Sure.
more generic. I think Juan Soto, he's defined himself as a top 5. I think Bryce Harper is still in the top 5.
Mhm.
I think Mike Trout is in the top 5. Cody Bellinger. And then my last one, I'm probably going to give it to Acuna.
Well, to me, it's clear that there's 3 starters in the outfield. It would be center field Mike Trout, left field Christian Yelich, and right field Cody Bellinger. To me, those 3 are
Yeah.
really the guys who've been
Yelich, I
fighting
forgot
for
about
MVP.
Yelich. Yeah, that's true.
Like, you can't not put those 3 in there. Those 3 are the starters. If I had to name 2 more, I think he's a little bit overrated, but I would probably have to give a nod in there to Mookie Betts. I'd probably put him
Mookie,
in
yeah.
that list. And then I'd give that last one out, and I know we've talked about him before, to Juan Soto. I think he's a little bit better than Acuna. He's got a more mature approach, great hitter, solid defender, really good, big, strong athlete. So I would have to give him that 5th one. To me, there's so many good ones in the game. Those last 2 are hard to pick, but there's those 3 guys who are just above all the rest, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then looking at relief pitchers real fast. We'll do 2 relief pitchers. That's good with you. Who do you got?
Oh, man. I really don't know. That's such a tough question because to me, like, the relief pitcher position is
Reliefs and
closing.
closers, just so you know. Reliefs
Closing
and
is
closers.
just
Yeah.
such a tough position because, we saw it with Mark Melancon, right? He was dominant one year and kind of non-existent the next. There's a lot of talented guys. Craig Kimbrell last year, right? For our Cubbies. I mean, he comes in missing half a season. He goes from being dominant to having a really tough year. So to me, I have a really hard time actually picking guys who I think are the two best. Because there's so many talented ones, but it's such a dangerous position where you can go 1 year from being dominant to the next year from being non-existent. So I can't really name two guys in particular. What are you kind of thinking here?
Well, I think there's really three guys there that are solid. I think Chapman. I think Yater or Hater. Why did I say Yater? Jeez, Hater. And then I think Yates from San Diego. I think those
Yeah.
three guys have really defined themselves.
Yeah, Yates is a dude you talk about. He's just so underrated, man. Like those other two, Chapman, probably, if I had to pick two of those three, I'd say Yates and Hader right now. Because Chapman's a little past his prime. He's still throwing flames, even where he's at now, how long he's been in the league. Nobody said he could keep doing it at this point. So kudos to him. He's still a great one. But to me, Kirby Yates is just
Yeah,
outstanding, and so is Josh Hader. To me,
definitely.
I go with a bit more of the youth movement and go with those two among those three.
Yeah. Well, moving on to two of our last topics, let's look at the NCAA real fast. They announced the Wooden Award winner. Who do you got with, what do you think Obi Toppin? Do you think he should not have won it? What do you think there?
All right, so I want to preface this by saying that Obi Toppin had an amazing season. He is very deserving of that award. I mean, he's a terrific player, putting up what was it, 20 points a game, over 7 rebounds a game, and a couple assists as well. But to me, the most dominant player in college basketball, I got to give it to Marcus Howard out of Marquette. I think he's, a senior, a 4-year guy. I think he's the most dominant player. We're talking about 27.8 points per game. This guy almost scored 28 points a game, as well as chipping it a little bit with rebounding and assisting. To me, this is a dude who you would watch him play, and he would just take over games. I know his team wasn't as good as Dayton. That probably hurt him in the considerations. But this is a guy who would take over games, a senior, a really outstanding player. And going back to our NBA draft, right? We didn't even take him in the mock first round because potential is king there, right? And not a lot of people are drafting these 4-year guys. This is a real sleeper in that draft. I think he may well be the best player in college basketball.
I don't have a slight problem with that because I think Obi Toppin really carried Dayton, so I think he does deserve it. I think if you say Dayton in there, I think they would have done really good. I think there was no clear, Zion of the NCAA, but
Yeah.
I love Obi Toppin getting it because Dayton did good, and they're usually never good. So I got no problem with Obi winning it.
Yeah, it's the same. I have no problem with him either. There's no one dude, but there's so many outstanding players in college basketball today. Uh, so many of them even who are sleepers in the draft. I mean, it was a great year. It's a shame that it ended the way that it did because
Yeah.
it was so competitive. It wasn't a super team like Duke was, which
Well,
even
yeah.
Duke didn't win. That's why they call it March Madness. But there was no one clear favorite. There was no one top team.
Well, that's why most people are saying it's going to be the best March Madness ever.
Yep, it would have been a lot of fun. It's really a shame we lost that. But anyway, I guess moving on from sports that didn't happen to sports that are going to happen. We talk about Dana White and the upcoming UFC 249. Him supposedly, essentially buying this secret island at an undisclosed location to hold fights. I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie. Uh, what are your thoughts on Dana White doing this and trying to go ahead with having these fights?
Are you kidding me? I love it, dude. I love it. I always loved Dana White. He's a great promoter. He's a great guy, I think. And I think the UFC fighting, I think it's great. I think Khabib backing out, sure, that's, different thing with Tony Ferguson and all the speculation with that. But I think Dana White doing this is great. It helps UFC. It helps them make money. It helps the sports who want to see action. So I think it's a great move. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not even a huge UFC guy myself, but man, I mean, just to have live sports going down, even if it's something I'm not particularly into, I mean, that's so cool, man. And I get Khabib backing out. I totally understand it. I understand it if fighters, especially international guys, do need to back out, but we need this to go down. And so I think that it's great him taking advantage of that opportunity. Plus, these guys are fighters. It's what they love to do. It's what they want to be doing. And so to be, cooped up in your house for that long, it's tough for you and me. If you're a fighter, you want to go out and fight people, man. that's a tough mentality to have. That's something that's hard to deal with. So I think that going ahead with it in the safest way possible, being able to bring America that and bring the world that, I think is great that he's doing that. I think that it's going to be great for the sport. It's a great opportunity to promote that sport. And even though I don't tune into UFC a lot, I'll probably be tuning in to see that, man. Like we need that kind of stuff.
Yep, I definitely love it. I think it's a great idea, and I can't wait for sports to be back whenever it is, even if it's just UFC for now.
Yep. And
Well,
hopefully MLB soon, but we'll see about that.
yeah.
And then moving on to close out the show here, we got to talk about the Hall of Fame class with Tim Duncan, KG, of course, the great Kobe Bryant making it in. What are your thoughts on this Hall of Fame class as a whole? And is there kind of a more underrated guy to give a shout out to in this class?
I mean, these guys are all great. I mean, they're all fantastic. I think Kobe Bryant obviously is a superb guy of the three. Kevin Garnett, mad respect for that man. Tim Duncan, probably the best power forward ever. Underrated, I think Tim Duncan probably, because he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done and can do. I think he's the best power forward ever play. But then also underrated is Kevin Garnett. He's KG, he's a beast. But I think Tim Duncan is probably the most underrated in those three. Because Kobe Bryant, he's not underrated, he's not overrated, he's Kobe. His legacy lives on. But I think Tim Duncan's probably the most underrated out of those three.
Yeah, I would agree with that on Tim Duncan, man. Like, he's maybe the greatest at his position ever to play the game. And
Yeah.
yet, when you think basketball, we think MJ, LeBron, Kobe, and then there's some other names that crop up too. And he's not one of them. He's not really in that second tier that gets mentioned. True basketball fans know him really well, but a lot of people don't. And so Tim Duncan's name, and he played recently too. Tim Duncan's name needs to come up way more in these greatest positional, greatest of all time discussions. One other guy I got to give a shout out to, making it as a coach finally, is Rudy Tomjanovich. I mean, to me, he has such an awesome story, coming back from essentially a life-threatening punch, trying to come to a teammate's defense. And, he nearly died. He had his teeth all messed up, his face entirely fractured, head injuries. I mean, literally on the brink of death to coming back and becoming an all-star right away, making it back to the league. I mean, what a cool story. What an awesome guy, the way that he didn't seek vengeance for it, accepted what had happened, and went on with his life, went on to be an outstanding coach, outstanding player, had a great career, could have made it in as a player possibly. What a cool dude, and what a great story. So shout-outs to Rudy Tomjanovich.
Yep. And also, don't forget Eddie Sutton, who got inducted also, and
Yep.
a couple other people. But I think that's all we got for today, right?
Yep, that should do it for us. So for me, for JD, everybody watching, stay safe. We'll see you later. Happy Easter.